It's time to bring in focus our main discuss for today. Now, reactions continue to trail the new pump price of fuel as price modulation mechanism of the product sees another upward adjustment. In a fresh move, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency has announced an increase in the ex-depot price of PMS. That's by 6 naira to hit about 138 naira 62 kobo per litre for the month of August. According to the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, with 6 naira litre increase in the ex-depot price, the new computation pegs the pump price at a band of 149 naira and 150 naira per litre. The rise in pricing reflects the upward price range of crude oil price in the international market. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers and the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria have kicked against the hike of premium motor spirit, also known as Petrol. The unions, in a separate statement, said they are not in support of any form of deregulation based on the importation of petroleum products that would not help Nigerians follow the sharp drop in crude oil prices, which led to a reduction in pump price of fuel in March. The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency has announced that it will advise the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and all marketing companies on the monthly guiding retail price at which the product will be sold across the country, but is yet to make any statement. Joining us live now in the studio to put perspective to this discussion is an oil and gas policy and management consultant, Mr. Michael Faniro. Mr. Michael Faniro, thank you very much for your time on the show.
Thanks for having me.
First, we've been going through this for some time now. PPPRA, we wait at the end of the month, a figure is out. At the moment, what would you say of this whole process of price modulation with regards to PMS?
Now, in the absence of a very clear legislation on deregulation, there have been pronouncements of deregulation by NNPC. There have been a pronouncement by the minister that there's going to be deregulation. However, currently there is no legislation. And you remember, PPPRA came up with a circular in June. It was backdated to March, where they affirmed that based on the power derived from the president, that they have the power to modulate the prices to. Though it's a bit contradictory because in one sentence, they said there is no ceiling for the price of petroleum products. In the second one, they said, okay, they're going to be giving guiding prices. So as it is now, it is the responsibility of PPPRA to provide a guiding price for the price of PMS, which I think they do, but I'm not sure they've released anyone for the August. And there's a little bit of confusion because the pricing for August has not been released.
What are they really putting into perspective here now? Price of crude and all of that is what actually regulates our pricing here, because we don't refine. We still have to move out crude oil and bring in refined products. So we'll continue to pay more as the price of crude continues to increase.
So that's where the issue is. Currently, Nigeria is in a catch-22 situation. So now it's either we pray that the price of crude oil goes up or it comes down. If it comes down, you see, we are just recovering from the COVID situation where the price of crude went down. And this led the government to actually reduce the budget for the year because the mainstay of our economy is oil and gas. We derive more than 90% of our foreign revenue, foreign earnings from crude oil. So if the price goes down, if the crude oil price goes down, yes, the price of PMS will go down. But in the other way, government is not be able to function because there is not going to be revenue for government. If the price goes up, it means then the price of PMS will go up because we are not refining here, we are importing. And we need to know that the price of crude actually constitutes about 70% of the price that we buy PMS at the pump.
It brings me to refining. Yeah. I'm worried because for some time now, all we hear is we're waiting for Dangote refinery. What's happening to our own local refineries? We just keep seeing figures, losses, and what's the process? Do we need a PPP, public-private partnership scheme to let it work? Or what do we do if we cannot outrightly privatize these refineries?
I think the latest figures we got from NNPC, they released their at least annual report recently, which made some of us to be glad at least there's a lot of transparency. And from that, you could see that the refineries were making losses. The biggest one was Kaduna Refinery that made a huge loss. So what we think, or what I think, is that government has no role to play, or NNPC should just divest from these refineries. Because it has proven that for years, seems NNPC or government is not able to manage this refinery. So what I think is that let them go through a PPP arrangement. NNPC can still have shares, but the management of the refinery should be given to private individuals and let them manage the refinery. If Dangote can come up with a refinery, then that means we can get private people that can actually invest in this refinery and make it profitable. But again, the other thing, what we debar any private investor from investing in refinery is the issue of deregulation. Yeah. The moment government still continues to fix the price of petroleum products, no investor, local, international, we want to invest here. So if you want to deregulate, we have to deregulate. Currently, we are not deregulating. What we have currently is the liberalization of the sector. Until the market forces begin to dictate the price at the pump, then that is when we can say we have actually deregulated. We are attempting to deregulate. So, but there's opportunity for us to actually deregulate and back it up with a legislation.
Deregulation, in its whole take, you believe it's a way to go. But what's this issue of pulling out and wanting to liberalize and not deregulate? Is it that government is scared of the marketers, or they think the marketers will take charge of the market, or what really? Because if we totally deregulate, for me, I'm just looking at the Nigerians, I'm looking at the aspect of the citizens. Let's assume today crude sells for $100 per barrel. How much are we going to buy fuel in Nigeria?
Okay, there are many factors that goes to what comes to the price of fuel. The first is the crude price. There is the freight of how you move it from Netherlands or wherever you source the crude. Then one other key determinant is the exchange rate. And that one has to be put in perspective, because the exchange rate, because this crude or the refined product is bought in dollars. So when you layer the exchange rate on it, it determines what at the end of the day becomes the final, the ex-depot or whatever the retail price. And that is where the issue is. If you've listened to the marketers in recent time, some of them are not importing. And why? It's because it is not profitable for them to import and still sell at the price that government has dictated. Because the marketers believe that NNPC is enjoying a better advantage in terms of sourcing for Forex. That is not substantiated, though, but according to what I read from them. So which means for us to really deregulate, there must be a level playing ground. The marketers must assess foreign exchange from the same source or at the same rate
with the NNPC
is. Otherwise, we cannot say we are deregulating. If NNPC, who is, is going to be a commercial entity of government, but again, if it's having an undue advantage, then there could not be. Because currently, PPPRA has not released guiding price. What has happened is that PPMC, which is one of the SBU of NNPC, has given what's going to be ex-depot price. And that is what is dictating the current price now, which should not be, because NNPC it's not a regulator. So this should not be them dictating the price. So there's a bit of confusion in the market as to what price is.
There's real confusion. I remember then we had like 2-3 press releases coming back to back, trying to really say that the marketers don't have the right to fix the prices and all of that. So this is an issue of a regulator also being a player in the industry. That's what it looks like.
Well, normally the NNPC is not a regulator, and to be fair to them, in every situation, they've been coming out that they are not regulating. But when there's a vacuum, what I see, there's a vacuum. And somebody has to play a role. Yeah. So NNPC says, okay, this is how much I'm going to sell mine. But because NNPC seems to be the sole importer now, because the marketer believe that they cannot make any margin with the current price and the current price of the crude in the international market. So they are not importing, so they all depend on NNPC. So the moment they depend on NNPC, that means we are going back to the period where the only thing that we've done is that we remove subsidy. I believe every Nigerian has believed that we need to remove subsidy. We shouldn't go back to the era of subsidy. What we are just saying is that, okay, let this one be back with legislation. How are we going to do the pricing? Is it going to be determined by the marketer? Is it going to be determined by government? Though we think it should not be determined by government. So what government needs to do is to set up a consumer protection. Let's take the case of telecoms. NCC does not dictate the price. But NCC is an effective regulator in the telecom industry. We can use that framework. So you set a consumer protection. But again, if you look at the argument from the government, because I'll start with government as well, and I'll listen to the argument. So one of the arguments they made is that, okay, the price of diesel has been liberalized or deregulated.
Indeed. And kerosene.
So one of the arguments from government is that since the price of crude oil has been going up and down, it has not been reflected in the price of diesel. So that's the fear. That's where the fear is. So there is trust deficit between government and the market, and those are the things that needs to be breached, and those are the things that needs to be clear. But again, if we are going to go through any deregulation and we are going to invite investors, government must hands off pricing of PMS.
Indeed, government must hands off. Now, do you think government can sustain this? Already labor unions are out. We've seen Nupeng, we've seen Pengasan, everybody already saying no, we are going to say no to fuel price increase. We are not going to accept that, coupled with the fact that Nigerians are grappling with COVID-19, inflation on the high side. You know, all of this. Do you see maybe government could just bow to pressure?
No, I think government should constructively engage the unions. We should not go back to the era of subsidy, because a common man will tell you, okay, with subsidy, without subsidy, they will suffer. But let them tell you, who is subsidizing who? The poor today is subsidizing the rich. Take, for example, Mr. Gunjobi, you have SUV, your wife drives a very big car, your kids have their car. So maybe in your house you have about 5 cars. And you buy, let's say, 20 liters of fuel every day. 20 times 5 is 100 liters. So you enjoy subsidy multiplied by 100 because for each subsidy amount, over 100. But look at a poor man that the only thing he uses is I better pass my neighbor. And uses maybe 5 liters or 4 liters of fuel a day. So he's only enjoying subsidy in a day up to 4 liters. So we're subsidizing who? The rich is actually being subsidized by the poor. And that is what we need to understand, that the subsidy does not actually benefit the poor. Subsidy benefit the rich. So we should not go back to the era of actually having subsidy. Let's forget the issue of subsidy that is a foregone conclusion. Because subsidy has cost government from 2006 to 2018 about 10 trillion from a report that I read.
Yes, true.
10 trillion is more than 2 times of what we have spent on health in the same period. It is more than what we have spent on education in the same period. So the rich can afford to go to Dubai, they can afford to go to London when they are sick. But when government cannot build hospital, when they cannot build school, then it's still the poor that suffer. But again, it's the trust deficit between the populace and the government. So government needs to do more in building the trust of the citizens so that they can trust them in reducing subsidy and believing that whatever the opportunity cost or whatever they are saving is not saving, or maybe the cost avoidance in that situation is used for their own well-being.
Now, let's move to the issue of legislation again. Now, talking about government just leaving a vacuum. Now, we don't know who's going to say this, who's going to do this. Now, issue of legislation in the oil and gas sector didn't just start today. We know of what's been happening with regards to Petroleum Industry Bill, and up till now, it's been divided into segments. Now, where do we go from here? What do you expect from the, let's say, National Assembly at this time to help attract investment into the oil and gas sector?
Okay, I think there's a good news on that front. So we listened to the minister on Saturday on a program, and one of the things he promised is that before the end of this month or in the next 2 weeks, the bill is going to be with National Assembly. I was in a meeting with the National Assembly as well on Monday, and they are expecting the Petroleum Industry Bill to be out. So the Petroleum Industry Bill currently is being drafted. They are just putting final touches. I'm aware that they are putting final touches on the bill that is going to go to the National Assembly. So I believe the journey of 19 years will gradually come to an end.
19 years indeed.
Yes, so, and I believe, so one of the advantages we must now take is that the PIB in the governance section must spell out which institution remains, which institution goes.
True.
And spell out how do we manage the regulation, because the regulation is one of the key areas. If you look at the economic sustainability plan that was released recently under the fiscal and the monetary measures, one of the recommendations is that we need to deregulate. So it's a foregone conclusion we need to deregulate. But how do we deregulate? It must be spelled out by in the law. So the regulation must actually be clear. The issue of a petroleum equalization fund is another thing that has been agitating a lot of minds, because when you are still, when we say we have removed subsidy, but you are still asking me to pay for bridging fund for somebody who is living in Zamfara. That means we are doing cross-subsidy. So what I believe is that we must enjoy geographical location. For example, I live in Abuja. So I buy the amount I buy yam in Abuja is different from the amount I buy yam in Lagos. If I want to enjoy that, I can bring my yam from Lagos, from Abuja to Lagos. So I don't expect that I'm living in Abuja should be buying fuel at the same price for people who are living in Lagos. The same way I enjoy farm produce in Abuja better than those are in Lagos. So those kind of institutions, for me, they have no role to play in the deregulated market. And I believe that PIB should do justice to such an organization.
Give a word to Nigerians. They are the ones at the receiving end. They are the ones who pay 150 naira, if not even more, for fuel as maybe henceforth. If by the time this gets out, maybe when we get the release from the triple PRA, what's your advice to them? What do you think they should take from it?
What now is that I know it's very hard, but we have to bite the bullet. We must believe that subsidy needs to go. And by the time that the market price dictates the price of fuel, it's going to come down, because that is when investors will come. Look at when we started MTN, Econet, and Glo then. MTN and Econet said, no, we can only do per minute. Then Glo came and said, I can do per second.
Competition.
Nobody told them. They brought it down. So by the time Dangote starts, by the time the NNPC in private hand, NNPC refinery in private hand begin to work, and we have supply in the market, it's going to force down price. No, that since we are not importing, so we are not paying for freight. And again, at the same time, it might not be affected by the foreign exchange. So at that time, the price is going to at least come a bit too low. Even if the price is going to be high, I believe that what government can do is, again, they can actually subsidize production. So they can give them tax holiday. So what they are losing in tax is not as much as what they'll be losing if there's subsidy. And one thing I think that government needs to take advantage in the PIBs is they can give an incentive. The IOCs are in Nigeria. They don't have refineries. And most of these IOCs in the country where they operate, they have refineries. So I believe maybe in one of the sections of the PIB, government should give incentive to any player who is ready to build refinery here. So instead of paying maybe so X tax, you can say, okay, they're going to be paying X minus 1 tax rate. And use that one to incentivize them for them to build refineries here. So by the time we are producing here, we are adding value here. So we are not taking products out onto the ship every time. So let there be value addition to whatever we are producing in Nigeria. That is why I believe that we can produce in Nigeria, and Nigeria can start enjoying these natural resources that God has given control. We must know that it's not going to be a journey of one day. We have to persevere. We persevere for subsidy for many years. So let's just persevere. I believe in few years we'll get there.
Indeed. Oil and gas policy and management consultant, Mr. Michael Fanyon. Thank you very much for your time on Business Nigeria today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.